Hello humans and welcome to Atlas Mega 10 Mondays. It's that time again when we discuss all things Atlas and all things Shin Megami Tensei and everything else in between in the Atlas universe. So sit back, relax, and let's see what we're going to talk about today in the Atlas Mega 10 universe. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. On today's episode... Hello humans and welcome to Atlas Mega 10 Monday, and oh boy do I have a show for you. First, let me say I wrote this episode on the last day of my quarantine after testing positive for COVID. So what you're about to hear are the theories that I came up with while being locked down in my room thinking about Shin Megami Tensei, the trailers, and everything that we've seen so far. Now first, let me begin by asking for your patience, as this is the first time I've ever written a script down for an episode of this kind, because I really wanted to touch on a lot of points, so please forgive me for any errors or if this goes a little long, but there's a lot of things that I do want to say in this episode because I just want to say them. And yes, I delved into an obsession bordering into cough syrup induced madness, coming up with conjectures and theories into these beloved franchises. Now first, let me say that I have no inside information or have anything in particular that had led me to believe the things that I'm about to describe. If you follow the channel, you know that I correctly predicted the release of Nocturne Remastered and the announcement of SMT5, and that was based on pure conjecture, and that's what I'm doing here under the influence of COVID and medications. So I pray that you give me some leniency here with my theories and take it for what it is, just an experiment in fun, an experiment in thought, and just an indulgence into our fandom, really. Now with that said, let's begin the ultimate analysis of the SMT5 trailer, Rona edition. Now I have to say Rona's just so the video doesn't get censored, guys, so that's why I'm doing that. Now let's first go over the obvious. We see Lucifer's prominent design of SMT2 used, and we have the angels and archangels and demons in these shots. This tells us right away that the alignment system is alive and well, and it will center prominently in this game. From his declaration, "The God you worship is dead," would mean that it's most likely going to be a law-centric game, but since you have choices, you will get to be right at home if you're an agent of chaos, for example. If you're a neutral alignment fan, you can just stop watching right now because everybody hates you. No, I'm kidding. Don't stop watching this. The video's entertaining, but yes, everyone does hate you. Everybody hates neutral. That's a fact. Deal with it. Now, what else do they let us see first in this visual feast? The protagonist is carrying a novel, which in Japanese is translated Paradise Lost. I want to give credit to LaRue on Twitter for that clue. I believe he's the first one to posted that, so that's where I got that from. I want to say that right away. I love giving props to people that come up with things, it's just the right thing to do. Now, the other thing that everybody focused on was the mysterious figure that makes the pact with our protagonist, and everybody's thinking it's Demi-Fiend or is it Odin. In the end, it does matter, but I don't look at it that way. I have a different hypothesis, or I think it's a different clue that they're giving us. Now, if you think about it, he's choosing against chaos in the end, so it has to be law-centric, affirming and reaffirming that alignments are going to be prominent in this game. If anything, we're going to have replayability, and that's a good thing at least. But just before he puts his hands out, I started to go down that rabbit hole of conjecture. A rabbit hole that I invite you to join me in, because it's really, really fun, as far as speculation anyway. And it's going to be an interesting trip, I assure you, and one that you haven't heard before. You haven't heard this before. You have to imagine the possibilities of what if. Clues, clues. Now guys, I usually don't write scripts for my episodes, but I had so many thoughts on this subject specifically that I had to type them out because I didn't want to forget anything. And maybe it's because I'm quarantined with Rona, and I usually can't do this because of work, doing my stock research stuff. So I just don't have this kind of time, but now I have. Now let me start from the beginning. From the very first announcement, there was something familiar about that first trailer that Nintendo put out, but I just couldn't put my finger on it. Then all of a sudden, when I was in quarantine, something hit me, specifically when I was putting my collector's edition of what they called Shin Megami Tensei Persona, which is really Revelations Remastered for the PSP. Now, here's a reality, guys, and I'm coming from this perspective. The Persona fan base is huge, and it would not make business sense to completely alienate them from this title. I know you're already rolling your eyes and what have you, but hear me out. If anything, the more successful this game is, the better for the SMT franchise as a whole. But how can they expand the fan base, giving Persona fans something familiar without changing the fundamentals of a true SMT game? Well, put that in the back burner for now. Now let me go back to what seemed familiar. What seemed familiar in the very first trailer, and I mean the actual first trailer where there was something about those rose petals that I couldn't get off my mind. Something seemed familiar with those rose petals coming across the screen. And what seemed familiar is that it reminded me how that butterfly floated across the screen in Revelations Persona in the intro specifically. Wait, I know what you're thinking. Whoa, bro, that's a stretch. But check this out. On that basis, I started digging a little deeper. On the second trailer, there was something about the protagonist that seemed familiar. And it's even when I saw this that I connected it. It was the aesthetics of the uniform. Look at the lines, look at the collar style. I have seen this before. Where have I seen it? Coincidence? You think? Alright, now let's go back to the second trailer. Let's look at the protagonist and the girl walking down the train station. Train station, Japan. Sound familiar? But anyway, let's pay attention to this. He is walking in front of her, distance. It's not how you would walk with somebody you would have a close relationship with. Maybe it's his little sister, who knows, maybe she's just annoying. Well, it doesn't matter. What we can determine is that the protagonist is male based on the different uniforms, different school uniforms. Now, a lot has been made of the protagonist looking somewhat feminine or androgynous. It really doesn't matter. SMT could use another female lead. But the reason I'm pointing this out is because there was another androgynous protagonist that we spoke about years ago. Remember, he was the first one to sport an earring? Again, do you think this is coincidence? Now, let's look at the second shot. Just before they're attacked by the demons, a strong relationship has been revealed. If you remember the trailer, it says, "We long for the dawn of a new Messiah." Now here we look at the bond between these two. It is strong. It's become strong even if it wasn't before. He's defending her from the demons, so much so that he's willing to sacrifice himself for her. In fact, he needs to sacrifice himself to save the world, to create a new world from the old in this game. At least that's what we can infer. I think this is our clue on how they intend to expand the fan base without taking away from the fundamental tenets of SMT. It's going to be like before, creating a strong storyline revolving around the relationships between the main characters in a more profound way that they've done before. Now, I'm not saying that they'll go full dating simulator, but what I am saying is that the fundamental storyline is going to be well developed, so we care about the characters and the relationship between them. This was something, if you remember, this is something that was started in Shin Megami Tensei F to a very lesser extent, and a little bit stronger in Revelations Persona. I think they gave us enough clues to follow that trail. Now check this out. SMT conspiracy theory goes full blown right now, guys. Get ready for this. What I am saying is that I believe that SMT5 will have strong influences not only from If, but also from Revelations Persona as far as character dynamics, in order to draw new fans in from the Persona series and maybe from other JRPG fans abroad. You know, they just want to make the fan base bigger, and they don't want to make it such a hard game that it will alienate a lot of people. Alright, let's put this all together. First, let's go back and look at the similarity between the uniforms. It has become more than just a simple coincidence to me. Look at the aesthetics. Look at the collar style. Where have we seen plants and branches before? Where? In the original SMT Persona disc. That's right, remember they called it Shin Megami Tensei Persona. Coincidence? Just wait. Do you think that Revelations, the name, is also a coincidence? Let's keep on digging deeper in this rabbit hole, right? Now, look at what happens when I invert the color of the protagonist's suit. Are you starting to see it now? Now let's look at Odin from the first trailer. Look again at the aesthetics of the character. Now let's compare it to the aesthetics of the Revelations Persona demon cover. Now I'm not saying it's the same demon, of course it's not. But what I am saying is look at the aesthetic. The choice means something. Look at the flaring metal outlines pointing outwards, like flames. Is it just a simple coincidence? Can it be? I think not. Now, let's look at what happens when they shake hands. There are some prominent colors here in this haze that we've seen before. If you've been a fan of SMT and Persona for a long time, you have seen this color pattern before through the years. On the right, purple grayish. On the left, graying blue. Where did you see this before? It is calling back to the original Megami Ibonruko Persona, the original cover in Japanese. Do you think this is just a third coincidence? In my opinion, the truth has now been revealed for everybody to see. Well, if you're looking anyway, if you have time, locked in a room with coronavirus. But I think what they're telling us here is that this purple haze is telling you to prepare yourself to have the SMT universe expanded. You might think that I'm just obsessed with the purple haze, but that would be a question of if. Alright guys, thank you for joining me on this rant. Thank you for indulging me, if you will, on all this speculation, and I hope you take it for what it is. It's just speculation, having fun with the fandom, you know, and coming up with theories of what we think, because this is part of what the old school is, right? What I like about this being released simultaneously is that I don't have to worry about watching some e-beggar play it for 5 hours and ruin the game for me. And some clickbait YouTube video claiming that it's going to be horrible, you know, which is what they always do. And, you know, and just have fun with it, you know. What do you guys think is going to happen with this series? Are there going to be any influences? It was fun to come up with this, you know, on the fly, and just going down that rabbit hole and trying to make connections was really, really fun for me. And I hope you take it for what it is. It's a fun exercise, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Alright, thank you for subscribing. Remember, I'm here every Monday with Atlas Mega 10 Monday, talking about anything in the Atlas universe, SMT, Persona, whatever else there is. There's a couple of surprises coming, which I haven't revealed because I've been locked in this room and haven't been able to pick a couple of items up that I'm going to reveal in the future. So thank you very much for joining me, guys. I will catch you on the next one. Remember, never ever be afraid to be happy, and let's look forward to SMT 5. Take care.